to start a query in Access on the Hockey Fan Zone, the Lab 2 of Chapter 2, you would take and go Create, and after the Create, notice that you have some query options over here. Query Wizard is a little less likely to be used. Do that with a cross-tab query. But here, if you go into Query Design, it brings on a show table, and in several of the first cases you'll be using the item table. So if you double click or click once and add, either way you can bring on that table. Close the show table window. Enlarge your options when you see your item number. Of course, your student name should be down here at the bottom. Joe Smith, Bobby Wright, whatever your name is. And one of the first ones has you bring on, and in order to bring on, there's multiple ways. You can come up here and double click, or you can come down here to the cell and click down and bring on description. Pretty easy just to double click to bring them on in the option that you need. And supplier code is the last one, as well as your student name. So would like your name on all queries. As you go through, you can search for item number. Remember that item number is going to be a primary key, so you'll get all records in this case unless you do something in the criteria bar. The criteria bar goes all the way across the bottom, and you can see how that works with either like a supplier code. I'm going to go ahead and run this right now, and the run button right here is at the very top, and the design tab that has the exclamation point. So when I run it, it gives me all of the data from the table, because of course I don't have any criteria in my criteria bar. So there's the item number, the description, the cost, and the supplier code. Of course, this right out here, the student name, should not have any data in it. It'll just be empty, so it does not make any difference on any of the queries. If I go back to Design View, and once again you can click this icon down here, or excuse me, at the top left-hand corner or at the bottom right-hand corner to have the same icon. It goes back to Designer View. Once again, you can move these up so that you can see them a little bit better. If I was looking for something in the cost, or something bigger than the cost, once again I can put anything in my criteria. If I was looking for supplier code LG, then I would go ahead and run that, and that would give me all the suppliers, and that's how criterias work. If I was doing some sort of sum, I would have to remove these queries, and so I'm going to go ahead and if you select this with the mouse turning to a black down arrow, you can delete these across the way and then come back. And of course I can also use my Office button to do a save as and name my query for the question or the possible values that are there. So right now I'll go ahead and do a sum query, and I'm summing the cost. And it could be number 12, it could be page number 16, whichever it is. And I'll go ahead and say OK. That'll save that. If I'm just doing the cost, all that, I just want that field, just the cost field, and there is the student name. And I'd go up here, and if you remember in Excel we used the functions under the summation E. That's one way to get it. I can click on this icon, or if I right click down in here in the fields, I can also get the same thing. This brings on a totals row that wasn't there before, and I can go ahead then and include the sum of the cost. Now when I run this, it says sum of cost, and then of course it'll be the sum of whatever field that you are working, the total sum, with of course your student name at the side. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back to my design view, and then I can add, once again I can change fields, so I can come in here and do the supplier code and then my name at the end. And with supplier code, what it does is it's going to take the sum of each of those supplier codes. So as I add fields, it will change what my query looks like. So here's my 3 supplier codes with the sum of the cost of those supplier codes. So remember that there are 9 records or so with multiple supplier codes, and that's why that is true. And I can do, once again, on my Office button, a save as, and I would do sum of cost on supplier, something like this, or number 3 or number 16, whatever it is, once again. And then if I go back, now just as a recap, if I put in something like a primary key or item number, which I have right here, description, which will be different on each one, so unique possibilities, and run it, it would give me all records. And notice that that's not the sum of any of the records, that's just all of them, because it cannot, with the item number field in it, it changes the query. So you need to be very, very careful about what data you put into the query, especially when you're doing sums and averages. So I'm going to remove that one, delete key. I just have the costs and the summers, and that's the correct one that I wanted. Now, so you can do sum, once again you can do average, max, min, all of the other ones, count, standard deviation, first, last, expression, and where. We use sum and average the most, max and min a few of the times. So once again, if I run it on the average, it's going to have the average cost of each supplier code. So there's an average option that's there. So that should get you started. Check over pages 113 through 117. You will have a calculated query. If you go right click on supplier code and go to properties, you can change, I'll move my window over a little bit. You can see the properties of the field, the description, the format, the input, mask, and the caption. The caption right here you can change, and it will not show because these are the table field names from the table, but it will show when you run, and that's the caption. Another thing, like on cost, if you didn't have it as currency, you can go here and format it as currency. If you were going to use a decimal, you would want to use fixed and then go down to the decimal places in 2. It's a 2-step process to do the decimal places. So that should get you going. That's a little bit of recap over the test. Practice those and you should be fine. Thank you.